Hello, and welcome to episode 62 of Mad Knitting. My name is Susan. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and you can find me elsewhere online as madtownmama on Ravelry and madtown_mama on Instagram. I'm based out of Madison, Wisconsin, and it is early May in the year 2024. Today is May 9. And I'm feeling a little fried and overwhelmed, so I'm not super organized with this, but I do have one finished object that I need to package up and send away, so that prompted me to sit down and record today. May is like this wildly busy month. If you have a child or children, you probably understand this, but everything happens in May, even if you do not have children in competitive sports, and I don't. My son plays ultimate frisbee at school, but that's very chill, although it does add to the calendar. But even without elite sports, there's just a lot going on with end of year concerts and school plays and music recitals. And I have a lot of gigs and some work stuff coming up, and it's just kind of a lot. The other thing I've realized, I'm noticing a pattern that I tend to feel quite overwhelmed this time of year, as a regular thing. I think it's a combination of all that end of year stuff. It just sort of adds to my calendar, eats into all the free time that I otherwise might have. But it's also because I live in Madison, Wisconsin, where we have very long winters. Even if we have mild winters like this year, the gloom and the cold and the damp and the general yuck just seems to last way longer than it should. And then spring comes and it lasts for approximately 12 minutes, and you have just this short window of time to do everything you want to do outside in your garden, get your nice spring hikes in, view the ephemerals, all that stuff before before it gets hot and muggy and turns into full-on summer. So it's mostly the gardening that has me stressed right now. I don't have a plan and I don't have very much planted, and I'm feeling behind. And that's a silly thing to stress me out because it's just a hobby I have, but it is anyway. You didn't come here for that, I'm sure. So I'm going to share first a finished object, the one finished thing I have. I actually finished a second thing, but I've already given it away, so I'll only talk about it very briefly. We'll start with the one I have, though. These are socks that I've showed in the last couple of episodes, so if you're a regular viewer, you may recognize these. They're a gift. I need to send them. The yarn I used is Felici fingering weight. It's from Knitpicks, although I bought this off of somebody's D-stash because Knitpicks isn't making this anymore, or at least they don't have it available now. They've changed it a little bit. I think they may have changed suppliers, and the stripes are different and none of the colors are appealing. Anyway, I bought this off a D-stash because somebody had some. So this is what I have left over. It's quite a bit. In fact, I have about this much Felici left over from every pair of socks I make. And one of these days I need to figure out what to do with all the leftovers. Because I like self-striping socks, but I'm not really sure what to do with leftover self-striping yarn. I can always make hats, I guess. But I don't know, maybe I'll think of something else. As you can see, I did not try to line up the stripes. So the pair, it's like a pair of fraternal twins. They don't line up exactly. I always knit my socks from cuff to toe. I use size 1 needles. For the feet I made these for, I cast on 68 stitches. They're a little bit bigger than my feet. I did a short row heel. I don't follow a pattern. At this point, I just know how to do it. I think when I started these, I intended to make a garter short row heel because I did that for another pair of socks a year or two ago and really liked it. And then I forgot when I got there. So this is all stockinette. That's fine. Next pair, I'll try to remember to do a garter heel. I think that's all I have to say. Did I say the colorway? It's called Goth Kitty, which is very fun. So it's moody grays and bright pinks and a purple, which is kind of perfect for the recipient these are going to. So that's the only finished object I have to show you. There's another one I made. I thought about not even talking about it since I don't have it to show you and I don't even have a photo, but I'll just mention it briefly because I can at least show you the yarn. Somebody I work with, who lives in Milwaukee, so I don't get to see her very often, mentioned during a Zoom meeting a couple of weeks ago that she has a new baby grandson, which is very exciting. She was obviously over the moon. She was babysitting him when we were having the meeting, so we got to see him a little bit on the video, and he was just adorable. So I decided to make a little hat for her grandson because I knew I was going to see her at an in-person meeting a few days later. So I did. I whipped it up real quick over the weekend. Yeah, didn't take a whole lot of planning or thought. I used the basic beanie pattern from Tin Can Knits in 2x2 rib. I combined a few colors of leftover yarn, and I have some of the yarn to show you. So this is called Lerke by Dolly of Norway. I don't remember where I bought this yarn, but does it even say? I still have the price tag on here, but the name of the yarn shop is sort of cut off, so I can't even tell you. I do know that I bought a bunch of this before my daughter was born. She is 16 now. And I made her a sweater, and I made her cousin a sweater. My brother-in-law's kids are a little bit younger than mine. They're in high school, but younger in high school. I've made many gifts out of it, and it just kind of never ends. It's the yarn that never ends. I really like it for baby stuff, though. It's half wool and half cotton. I have clearly a bunch of this sort of dirt brown color. I have some of this cream color, and I had a little bit of this beautiful dark teal, kind of a mallard duck color that I used the rest of it in that hat. But the sweater I made for my daughter held up for ages. I don't even know if this is still available. Can you get the Lerke yarn anymore? I don't know. It's very, very soft. It's washable. It holds its shape. I found that it didn't pill like at all, even after multiple washings. So I think it's a good yarn. The only complaint I had with it was that when you're knitting, you have to be careful not to split, because I think the cotton content makes it very easy to get the needle in between the plies. But yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I do have several works in progress to show you though, so let's get to those. Here's another like second verse, same as the first sort of deal. I am making socks for my son, the Collegiate Sock project I'm calling it, because he is graduating from high school and heading to college in the fall, and I want him to have lots and lots of warm socks to keep his feet warm where he's going. This is the first finished one, and I have a little bit of a cuff of the second. So if you've been watching for a while, this will all look familiar because he and I picked out several skeins of Knitpicks Hawthorne fingering together in colors that he likes. This one is Klamath Falls, I believe. Yes, Klamath Falls Hawthorne Tonal. I find that even though this is listed as a fingering weight, it feels more like a sport weight, and the yardage reflects that. It's 357 yards for 100 grams. So that's quite a bit less in terms of yardage than you normally find in 100-gram sock yarn. He really likes how they feel on his feet, and we have found it to be pretty hard wearing. So that's why I got a bunch of it. I really like this tonal colorway. It's this beautiful navy blue, very subtle. Some of those Hawthorne colors are more highly variegated, but this one is really pretty close to a solid color. For his feet, I am using size 1.5 needles because the yarn's a little thicker, and I cast on 66 stitches. And I've done enough of these for him by now. I don't even need to like write anything down. I just remember how many rounds to do and all of that stuff. And the pattern that I've hit on that I really like, this, I mean, I'm not using a pattern, but the process I have settled on is to do a 1x1 rib cuff, continue in a 1x1 garter rib down the leg. I apologize that the light is not great because it's a gloomy, rainy day here and I don't have fancy lights, so you get what you get and you don't throw a fit, right? For the heel, I continue the line of knit stitches down into the slip stitches for the heel, which I think looks very nice and symmetric. Not that you can see, but take my word for it. And I continue on that way down the foot until I get to the toe. So this is great meeting knitting, sitting in concert knitting, waiting to get into the dentist knitting, whatever situation calls for travel knitting. This is what I bring along. So I had the goal of making 1 pair of socks per month until he leaves for college. We ordered 6 skeins, so that gives me some buffer. Although I'm sure I could dig up more if I wanted him to have a full 8 or 9 pairs before he goes at the end of August or beginning of September, or whenever that is. This is the 4th pair and we're in May, which is the 5th month. So I'm a little bit behind if I were to stick to that schedule, but these are arbitrary rules and I'm not worried about it. As long as I get 6 pairs done before he leaves for college, I will consider it an accomplishment. I will show you the next work in progress that I started right before my last episode. I made a lot of headway on this, but I've gotten distracted with a few other things. So we'll see where it's at. This is, shoot, I have misplaced the pattern. This is called Garland by Stephanie Letvin. I don't have the pattern with me, but you can get a pretty good idea of what's going on here. It's a top-down sweater with a colorwork yoke. I think you can see where the title Garland comes from. It's got this cool vine pattern that switches directions. I got this, she had a sale around the holidays a few years ago, or maybe it was one of the indie gift-along sales. Anyway, I thoroughly have enjoyed knitting this so far. I like the pattern. I've enjoyed the yarn. It's for me, and I've gotten sidetracked with gift knitting, more of which you'll see in a bit. So I have separated for the sleeves and I'm on the body, but haven't made it very far yet. I will show you the yarn I'm using. Don't have a label on me, but that's okay. In my last episode, I told you the story of this. I've had it for a while. This is yarn that's pretty special because it was produced by Clara Parks, the great Clara Parks of the Knitter's Book of Yarn, the Knitter's Book of Socks, the Knitter's Book of Wool, maybe? I have all of them, and they're good. They're really good books. Anyway, she had this yarn produced. This was, I think, her 3rd collection or 3rd run of it. It's a CVM Rommeldale combination. I bought a bunch of it in fingering weight, mostly in this very dark color, some in a very light natural color, and then a little bit in this sort of beigey in between. So I've had it for a while. I don't know what my original intent was, but it's definitely enough for a sweater. Maybe not a long sleeve sweater, but I could get creative with stripes or color work or something. We'll see. She lists it at a fingering weight. I really like how it knits up for the fabric for this on a size. I'm using size 4 needles, so that's 3.5 millimeter for the main part of the stockinette and body. And I always go up a needle size to do color work. So I was using size 5 needles every time I had the vine color work parts. So I'm getting 6 stitches to the inch. I really like how this feels at that gauge. I think any tighter and it might be too stiff for a sweater. It probably could be knit looser, but I like how this feels. I don't like really loose, flimsy fabric for sweaters. I feel like it wouldn't hold up. That's my personal opinion. Anyway, here's where we are. I did decide to incorporate, so I decided to do the ribbing with that beige, and I incorporated it in 2 of the vine motifs. So the neck is flipping out a little bit. I hope blocking takes care of that. And I also need to slide half the stitches onto a second pair of needles and try this on and make sure that it actually fits and fits me properly. I haven't done that yet because I got sidetracked with other stuff. But I'm on the smooth sailing, mindless stockinette part of the body now. So once I start picking it up again, that should go faster. All right, let's get back to some gift knitting and the reason that I've stalled out on the garland sweater. First of all, what should I do first? Let's do these first because I need to finish these like really soon. There are a lot of people in my life with birthdays in May. I don't knit for all of them, but I'm knitting for 2 of them right now. One, her birthday is today actually, and I'm going to see her this weekend. So I really wanted to have this done in time for that. So I am making a pair of mittens for a friend of mine who loves hand knit stuff. She herself, I don't know if she knows how to knit or crochet, but she is an amazing, she can sew clothes for herself. It's really quite amazing what she has. I've seen like a coat she's made and pants and skirts. And I mean, she's a couple of decades older than I am. And she grew up in a very large family. She's the oldest of 8 in like rural Wisconsin. I think this was a time when you didn't really have a choice if you were a girl growing up in this kind of environment and culture. You just learned how to do all that domestic stuff. So anyway, it's really fun to talk to her about many different things. But she is a person who very genuinely appreciates handmade things and art and all manner of creative projects. So anyway, I am making her a pair of mittens. I'll show you the first one. It's not quite done because I don't have a thumb. Thumbs are like my, it's like the last thing I want to do. But I'm really pleased with how this turned out. The pattern is called Happy Mittens, I think, by Mayu KP. She's a Finnish designer. She wrote that whole book about contrasts and textured knitting that I've knit a couple of things out of and I really like. She does a lot of really cool colorwork stuff too. So this pattern is written for DK weight yarn and it's meant to use up scraps and leftovers and any small bits you have, which is what I am doing. I am using Berroco Ultra Alpaca. I don't have labels because these are all leftover bits. This main color I'm using, that's like a heathery lavender, is left over from a sweater I made for my mom the beginning of last year, the beginning of 2023, on her request. And I actually have quite a bit of this purple left over. I'm not sure how to use it all up, in fact. But this pair of mittens is chipping away at it. So I'm using it for the main, as you can see, the main color for the, you know, for the cuff ribbing and then throughout the rest of the mitten. This is the worsted weight Ultra Alpaca. It also comes in like bulky, sport weight, and fine weight. It used to come in a fingering weight. I don't know if you can still get it, but anyway, this is the worsted weight. I really like it. I'm using size 4 needles for the ribbing and size 6 needles for everything else. I am making it comes in 4 sizes, and I am making the 3rd one. So it fits really well. Like, it's nice and snug without being tight. And it is, I think I knit this in over the course of about a day and a half. I've started the 2nd one. It's got needles sticking out all over. And you can see I'm only 3-4 rounds into the color work. But it's very fun. You know, mittens go really fast, especially when you're using worsted or DK weight yarn. And color work is so potato chippy, you just want to keep doing the next round and doing the next round and seeing how it comes out. So I'm having a lot of fun with it. The other colors I'm using are, these are leftover from old projects. Like, this is a light gray. I think I made a couple of hats out of this, using this as the main color. This is all I have left of it. This bright coral orange I've had for ages, and I've used it as a contrast color in at least like 3 or 4 projects by now, counting these mittens. So that's all I have left of that. This is a very dark eggplant purple. I have no idea why I bought it or what I used it for. But this is how much I have left, and I really like how the 4 of them go together. So they're in this mitten. What I need to decide is how to do the thumb. So the thumb has this nice, like very simple kind of checkerboard pattern going between 2 colors, and then you can switch those up. So I think the pattern calls for just using 1 solid color for the thumb, but I may continue with this alternating colors kind of in the checkerboard all the way up, just to have it a little more consistent with the mitten and also to make it warmer. We shall see. Yeah, the only drawback to these, I'm going to show you the inside. The ends to weave in are going to be, that's going to be a whole project. Because there are so many colors, sometimes you have so long to go from when you're done with one color and before you pick it back up again later in the mitten, that it's easier to cut it and re-enter the yarn. That's not the right terminology. What is the right terminology? Anyway, it doesn't make sense always to carry the yarn all the way up, because then you'd have this big loop in there and it's just another skein of yarn to get tangled up as you're doing your color work. So that'll be a project, but that's okay. I don't even mind weaving in ends that much, as long as I have enough time and don't feel rushed. So I'm very much enjoying this. The way this, I followed the chart where I just picked the 4 colors I was using, and I am following the chart with the colors as she indicates. But you could very easily, I'm sure, adapt this for, you could probably adapt this for fewer colors. I'm sure you could adapt it for 3. Maybe you could even keep it at 2 if you really wanted. And you could certainly add more in if you wanted. I thought it would be fun. I mean, I'd have to sit and think about how to do it exactly, but I thought it would be fun if you had all the colors in rainbow order and just use something, use a neutral like black or white or light gray or something as either as the contrast or the main color. Anyway, like always having like that neutral with red and then the neutral with the orange and then the yellow, you know, and having like a rainbow pair. I think that would be cool. So there's a lot of possibilities. I recommend it. It's called Happy Mittens, and there's a hat pattern as well that has the same color work chart. So highly recommend. And I need to finish these soon. My last work in progress is another gift. This is for my niece who turned 6 at the end of the month. I debated if I wanted to make her anything at all. I have I have some books picked out. I would like to find her a jigsaw puzzle because she is a jigsaw puzzle whiz. You would not believe how good this kid is at those. Oh my gosh. So I need to find her a puzzle to send her for her birthday. But I was debating on sending her a handmade thing because several reasons. It's hard to get the size right when I don't see my nieces very often. I'm always worried that something is going to be too big or too small or just not look right. Secondly, when it comes to hand knits, her birthday is at the end of May. It's basically summer. They live in Virginia, so it's probably going to be hot and humid by then. It's just not the best time of year to send someone a hand knit sweater. Plus, this is a child who lives outside, is always running hot. Like, I just don't know how practical it is to send her something to wear. And I've made her toys I've made her at least a couple of different toys, and that's all fine, and she likes them, but those girls have a lot of stuffed animals already, and I'm not sure how helpful it would be for their household to have yet more come in. You know what I mean? So I just wasn't feeling it for toys this year. However, I was browsing patterns on Ravelry like you do, and I came across this one that was just so cute. Designer was new to me. Can't remember where she's from. She might be Danish. But the pattern is called, I'm trying to find a name here, Light-Hearted Slip-Over Mini. And I think if I show you the picture that's in the corner of this, it won't give too much away because this is just like gauge information. But can you see how cute this is? It's a little vest and it has this colorwork pattern. I don't want to give away too much here either, but there's another photo. I should yank one of the pattern photos and add it too. But it's this little vest with colorwork hearts kind of in different sizes, and the main color at the bottom sort of gradually transitions into being the contrast color by the time you get to the middle of the vest, and it's all plain when you get to the top. And it's just so cute. You knit it bottom up, so all the fun stuff is at the beginning before you get to the shaping and complicated stuff. And I just decided I wanted to make that for her. Plus it's a vest, which will A, go quicker, and B, not be so hot. So I even bought yarn for this. I shouldn't have. I should have looked in my stash and found something there. But to go along with this whole business of, summertime, her running warm and everything, I really wanted to see if I could find a wool cotton blend for this project so that it would be a little cooler yet. And sure enough, when I went to the Sow's Ear, which is a local yarn shop that I love, they had some Brooklyn Tweed Dapple on sale. I think they're clearing it out. It's tonally dyed. It is 60% US merino and 40% organic cotton. Here is the label. Now this yarn feels a little fragile, and it is hand wash only, but I think that's okay for this family. It feels very soft, and because it is not superwash, it's actually got a pretty good grip. Like, I'm enjoying the color work. I'm not too far because I've been rushing to finish those socks, and I need to get those mittens done soon, and I have a little extra time for this. So you can see I've just got, the bottom part of one set of hearts done. But I'm enjoying knitting it. I like how it feels. It's very, very light. And I'm cautiously optimistic about how this is going. I will say I've heard some icky things about the Brooklyn Tweed Company, which is unfortunate. But getting this, I'm supporting a local yarn shop, and it was on sale, so it kind of seemed like I wasn't, not a high stakes thing, right? The colors I'm using are, this light color is called Barely There, which is appropriate enough because it looks like it's barely been dyed. And this other color is called Honeycrisp. And I honestly cannot detect any tonal action happening. It really does look like it's a solid color. So we will see. The main top part of the vest will be this Barely There color. And the bottom, for now, what's the background and the bottom part is this Honeycrisp. So yeah, it's kind of a bright red, almost coral, but not really. I like it. I'm enjoying it. And the fun thing about this pattern is that the designer, whose name is not here, and I'm blanking on her name. I think it's Carla something. I'll make sure it goes on the bottom of the screen. Clara Eggers is her name. She made a grown-up size version too. I think it would be so stinking fun to have a vest that kind of matches my niece's vest, so I may make one. We will see. We will see if that happens. I think that is it for works in progress. I have just a few minutes left before I need to stop recording and go on to other things. But I wanted to give you a little update on the New Zealand wool and kind of what I'm thinking in terms of projects for it. So we were in New Zealand over a month ago now, which makes me kind of sad because it was except for getting sick, it was such a good trip. And I came home with a couple of sweater quantities worth of yarn, if you remember. A fingering weight sweater quantity of some merino possum blend in this gorgeous dark red color. And another sweater quantity of this natural charcoal color wool, DK weight. So I swatched, as I showed you before, and I have since washed the swatches and remeasured. And I'm just going to give you a little report and tell you that the DK weight wool didn't change a bit in size. Stitches are the same size. It's all good. So once I pick out a pattern, and I'm still deciding between these two very basic cardigan patterns by Carrie Bostic Hogue. Also, I think her online stuff is also Mattermade. Gonna do one of those out of this. Kind of a basic thing since it's a dark heathery yarn and stitch patterns won't show up very well. However, this, which is, it's so light and warm and soft, it grew just a little bit. So on the part of the swatch where I used a size 3 needle and was originally getting 26 stitches over 4 inches, it grew a little bit to 25. And with the size 4 needle where I was getting 24 stitches over 4 inches, which is 6 stitches to the inch, it grew slightly to be 23 stitches over 4 inches. This is not a huge difference, but it's enough to tell me that anything I knit out of this yarn on either of those needle sizes will grow a little bit. And there will probably be some drape because of the possum content. It's 30% possum. That's almost a third of it, so that's quite a bit. So my original plan was to make a sweater called Tenaya by Elizabeth Doherty, and I don't think I'm going to do that now because I don't think all that is going on with that sweater, I don't want it to be made out of yarn that may kind of stretch out and droop. I might need to pick something a little simpler. So I haven't made that decision yet. I'm still thinking about it, but yeah, I've been in situations many times where my swatch lies, even when I am so careful to make a nice big one and measure it and wash it and measure it again. So, you know, sometimes I just take my chances and cast on regardless. But at least I'm going in with more knowledge than I usually do, to be totally honest. So we'll see. We'll see what I end up making. I've got all these things to finish and I have another sweater on the go, so I've got a little time to think about it, but I don't want to put these off for too long because you know, this was a really special trip and this is really special yarn, and I don't want it to just sit there forever. All right. That's all I have to share with you today. I will see you in a few weeks. Until next time. Bye-bye.